I started writing books like The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, or framing economic models specifically for the Black community in the Black Business School. So his name is Daniel Kahneman. And Daniel Kahneman, he wrote a bunch of papers with another guy whose last name was Tversky. And Kahneman just died today. And I just thought it would be interesting to bring my academic stuff into the classroom a little bit. Because if in case you're wondering what it's like to be a finance professor, it's literally sitting around with a bunch of super smart people who are all geniuses and literally talking about financial theories all day, right? And but really detailed high level stuff, like really complex mathematics and all that. Like it was really fun. It's like a nerd's paradise, you know. But it can be a little stressful because one thing about academia is that you're always surrounded by haters, in the sense that people make you better. They make your work better by criticizing you, right? Which is different from the real world. We think that if someone criticizes us, they're trying to hurt us. When actually in academia, your biggest critics are the ones who make your work exceptional. They're the ones who help you get through the storm and create solid theories and all that. So Daniel Kahneman studied something called risk aversion. Risk aversion basically means that you don't like risk. That's kind of what it is. I mean, he had a bunch of other theories, but I'm going to stick with risk aversion because that's the simplest, most relevant one. And one of the things that he talked about, and it's spelled yeah, that's right. That's how you spell it, Derek. It's Kahneman. And he just died today. And his work on risk aversion was really interesting because what he did was he proved little basic things that, like a lot of times when you invest, your fear of a loss tends to be greater than your desire for gain. And that's a simple idea, but it's really important. Because I remember there was a woman named I don't remember her name. Nita, no, it wasn't Nita Khan. She was a an Indian woman, and she wrote a book about investing. And in this book, she said, she called me and she said, "Boyce, I have a question for you." And I said, "Sure, what is it?" She said, "It might sound a little bit racist." And I said, "That's okay, don't worry. I know you. I don't get offended by that." And she said, "I went through the list of entrepreneurs and of different communities." She said, "I went through Asians, white people, black people, and everything else." And she said that I found, surprisingly, that African Americans don't like starting businesses. She said African Americans are the group that is the most comfortable working for other people. And she said I was really fascinated by it. She didn't know anything about really the black community or how we think. She was calling me. I was kind of like her one black friend, you know how that goes. And I said, "Really, tell me more." And she said, "Well, I have a theory on why this is true." I said, "Really, what is it?" She said, "When you take a risk, and we talk about risk management a lot." She said, "When you take a risk, you either have an upside or a downside. Either the risk is basically the chance that something's going to happen, right? It's like a moment that is pregnant. You either going to have a pretty baby or an ugly baby. Either it's going to be yes or no, good or bad, right? So what happens is that she said that people who are raised in a more stable space, where they haven't touched the fire and found out that it was hot, they were nurtured in a certain way, they're more likely to take risks because they're thinking about the upside. They're thinking about all the good things that can happen. But she said that a culture or individual that has been heavily traumatized is not looking up. They're looking down. They're not thinking about all the great things that can happen. They're thinking about all the terrible things that will happen. Right. So I want to bring this home a little bit. If you imagine, if you have a cousin who says, "I'm going to quit my $100,000 a year job and start a business." Have you ever noticed how people like literally will panic for that person? That they will freak out. They will literally express their trauma. Like, "Oh Lord, don't do that. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna pray for you. Why would you do that? That's crazy. Are you sure?" Right? And it's not to say black people are the only ones who will do it, but let me know if you have relatives like that. I remember when I was going to quit my job, I went through that. My brother, when he finished college, he wanted to come and work for me and just hang out with me and help me build my business. And I had family members calling me, begging me to talk him out of it. Why? Well, because he had a great job offer with Ford. And the problem was he hated that job. He did an internship. He hated the job. It was worthless. It was meaningless work, and it really drove him crazy. And I said, "Well, you don't have to do that. You do have options." And he was like, "What?" I said, "Well, we can work together. Let's start a business." And he was all down for it because he trusted me. But my family was not my parents. my cousins. I had an auntie that called me and said, I know he's listening to you. You need to talk him out of this. Like people will really legit panic when they think that you're risking your financial security. So where does that panic come from? It's not rational. It comes from what Daniel Kahneman calls risk aversion. Traumatized people have more risk aversion than non-traumatized people. Traumatized people get scared all the time. And it makes sense. If you've been assaulted, let's say, sexually or something, you're going to be very nervous about going to a man's house. If you've gone through financial trauma, you're going to be very nervous about quitting your job, right? If you've been incarcerated and gone through the hell that prison inmates go through, it's going to make it harder for you to take chances. You're going to be kind of nervous about certain things. So basically, this is what this finding, sort of understanding this, is what led me and my wife when we created the first ever Black financial therapy department. Is I said we need to dig into trauma. Trauma is one of the most economically costly effects that exist in the Black community. Your trauma and your lack of desire to heal from the trauma, your aversion to therapy, your unwillingness to do the work to get better, to heal yourself, is costing you trillions of dollars in lost economic opportunity, because it is impossible to build wealth when you are scared of everything and you don't take any chances. The first thing that comes up with investing is risk. If I say reward, the brother of reward that's always with him, every time you talk about reward, making money, getting money, whatever, the brother of reward is this thing called risk. And they walk together as a team. They're partners, they're buddies. You don't see one without the other. So if you want the reward, you have to see the risk. But you've always known this. Why? Well, because you've always heard people say stuff like scared money don't make money, or nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? You've heard that. So here's the deal. Daniel Kahneman to me is interesting. He was very interesting to me when I was in my PhD program, because he was a guy that really understood risk aversion. And he wasn't focused on Black people at all. He never mentioned Black people in any studies that I saw. But he basically said, generally speaking, that people have a greater fear of loss than they have a desire for gain. So if you can flip that, if you can find a way to flip that, if you can get to the point where your desire for something better exceeds your fear of losing what you got, then you're going to be a great investor. You're going to make the moves, take calculated risks. You have a far higher likelihood of being economically successful, but you have to spend more time looking up, forward and up, and you can't spend your time looking down and back. If you spend all your time looking down and back, you lose your economic vision, you become trapped in the moment, you become incredibly irrational, and you don't take any chances because you're scared. Some of you in here, I've seen some of you in here, and it's okay, that are literally scared to buy your first share of stock. You've seen in the Prime program where we talked about all the income people can make by selling stock options. And I get messages from you all the time where you say, I've been sitting there watching for 6 months, but I'm scared. So really, if you go into Prime, drboyceprime.com, look for Prime 101. Prime 101 is where I walk you through the process, right? And I want you to do it without feeling like you have to be perfect or that nothing can go wrong. Uh, Things always go wrong in business. Things always go wrong in wealth building. It's a part of the process, right? So how you internalize the setbacks or what you might consider to be failures is extremely important in this process. Okay. So that is, you know what? Since I'm stopped up and I sound crazy today, I hope y'all forgive me for ending class a little bit early. Well, actually, my plan is usually to end in 30 to 45 minutes, but today I just sound like an ogre, and I apologize for that. Please forgive me. I hope that what I was saying overrides the way I sounded saying it. I'm gonna tell you, this is like a funny joke. To me anyway, it's funny. You know that guy Kennedy that's running for president? Somebody reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to interview him on my platform. And first off, I just said no because I don't want to get in politics. I don't want to get into that Democrat Republican stuff. That to me, that does not solve problems in the Black community. But then I remember thinking, honestly, I said, that guy's voice is so scratchy. I don't know how anybody can sit and listen to him talk for like an hour, hour and a half. It would drive me. It's like listening to nails on a chalkboard. And I hate it. I hate it because I think he's got a better message than Trump and Biden, in my opinion. But Lord Jesus, that man when he talks, it's like I'm like, what? So yeah, so anyway, So maybe I'm being hypersensitive about it, but I don't sound well. I don't sound like my best. So let me go clear my sinuses and try to work on some stuff. And I'll let you guys have a great day. Reminder number one, don't forget, I'm going to send you a list of dividend paying stocks, stocks that pay the highest dividends. I'll send that out this afternoon. So make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to 87948. If you text morning to 87948, I'll send that list out to you later. Second of all, the Stock Options Summit is April 19th. It's stockoptionssummit.com. If you want to join us in Los Angeles, that's stockoptionssummit.com. And also, every now and then, I'm going to keep reminding you about the All Black National Convention, which is way out in October, October 25th. I hope you'll bring your family. I guarantee you won't regret it. It's the most amazing Black event you'll ever go to in your life. We designed it that way. We've done it almost a decade, and I know you guys are going to love it. So, anyway, have a good day, everybody. And